Thanks a lot for staying. It will be also a little bit, I will ask the artists a little bit about the practicalities and also about like their attitude towards AI and like how did they embed it into their work. But first of all, thank you very much. And I would like to start with the worst question.
Okay.
How did you feel when it got stuck?
I felt like the usual. I mean, we haven't had any moment in this process in which something that wasn't stuck. So I think it's part of the process now. Yeah, so it gets stuck. And I think it's okay. I don't know. Yeah, I mean, there is also all the time this, I can restart the computer. So yeah, but yeah, it's, you need to work with it.
Did you ever have such a big audience to restart your computer?
No. No, but I think we actually try to integrate errors in what we do, and also like how the AI is designed and everything is designed kind of to have this active divergence kind of attitude. I mean, also the first AI model, the one that works with the sound, is also intentionally made to deviate, you know. Yeah, so, yeah. For me, it's more interesting than having like a boring discussion with ChatGPT. You know, it's like more interesting to have this type of, you know, I don't know, let's go digital presence or whatever that does this kind of things, because it's real somehow.
Yeah, it was a very lively moment. How was for you?
Yeah, like for me, like speaking as like, let's say, as a technically minded person, obviously it's a frustrating thing because it's not designed to do this.
Mm-hmm.
So of course, like, and I feel the responsibility because I'm the one who took the thing and put it inside a file, copied it to Simona's SSD and told her, press on this and this will happen and this will work and everybody's gonna have a good time and we're all gonna chat with the thing like we did in our workshop, in our thing. And yeah, obviously it's something that I don't want to happen. On the other hand, like Simona is saying, it's and all of our process and all of our concept is built on this idea of stepping out of sync, being on the borderline between predictable and unpredictable, and embracing this.
Mm-hmm.
And I mean that's why this is like such a wonderful exercise for me, because I can't just be the technical person, and I must be in the moment and roll with it and see where it takes us.
I think you had a very strong presence. Thanks. Just so you were mentioning the concept, but if we can go back in time, and when you submitted your project proposal for MODINA, then can you kind of like lead us through the way, like how did it change the concept, or did you work with the same one? I mean, same ideas? Did you thought about like, yes, you will definitely use AI, or were you also considering others, and how did you shrink the way?
So it started, I think, from this, we had two separate researches. I am researching mass dances since 5 years now. So I wanted to use AI and to employ AI in this sense of, because I have massive amounts of information, you know, like gathered from scholarship or like residencies or research. So I never have time to go through all these materials that I have, especially archive materials. So my first desire was to actually use AI in a productive way, meaning, not to say that this is not productive, but just, to go through these materials and kind of come back with, for example, to say, if I want to search about choreographic choirs in Nazi Germany, where should I look? And then it would say, go search in this archive, go search in this book, and blah, blah, things like this. So this was my first desire. But pretty soon I realized that this is not possible because although we have trained it and blah, 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 it invented things like saying, go to page 89 and this book. And I was going to page and I was like, it doesn't have 89 pages, like this has 60. Oh, I'm sorry, go to page 20. And it was completely unreliable from this point of view. So I think after 1 month I realized that I have to stop. Also, we had some mentors coming from Portugal and they said, like, this is the moment when you need to stop. Like, because I was like in this process, you know, like, this is going to work. I have spent 1 month putting these 7,000 pages, making them PDF to PNG, blah, blah, text and all this kind of thing. And like, it was getting personal, you know, it was like, I worked so much, please work. So it didn't work. So this was one thing that practically that changed. But the thing that did work was the fact that we were trying to find similarities, or I don't know, like these separate threads that would come together between what it means, this idea of swarm intelligence and collective intelligence in mass dances and in AI. So from this point of view, it was, I feel that we had a lot of discussions about AI, and because of that we managed to have this discourse that we are still perfecting and blah. But for me this is very interesting to understand these two.
I see. So you mentioned that you applied with 2 different research ideas, and the second
No,
not really, no.
No, we applied with one, but at first I was having this research about mass dancing, and Grigore was having his research about
AI, basically different applications of machine learning, deep learning, generative models in mostly sound and text. And we had these discussions as we were writing our application text. What are we going to say? So basically the point of MODINA is, or of this project, this type of project, is to use dance, AI and audience interaction. And I think we kind of saw all 3 represented. And we said, okay, what kind of AI would we use? And like Simona said, let's do something that might actually come in useful, or have some practical use. And she asked me, would this be possible? And I said, I don't know. Let's try to find out. I mean, even placing the question itself, and I think we even placed the question in our application. Let's see how far we can get in these a few weeks before it has to become a show. So basically we found out what these 2 people and this kind of hardware and this kind of how far this can get. Doesn't mean that it's necessarily impossible. Even today it might be possible, like maybe on another scale, but
And you presented kind of like, or showcased several type of AI algorithms, and can you lead us through the different roles that you were kind of like giving to AI, or like what was your strategy?
So we have within the sound component, the one that starts from clapping, there's multiple things like, again, technically
in a simple way
happening.
Like,
I'm gonna try to
explain in a
say
simple way.
Simple enough. So
what is the AI doing?
The first thing is it's detecting a repeating pattern in clapping and finding a loop. So finding a thing that can loop. And I could maybe even go to the laptop and play it back. But
Sorry, just can you maybe tell us like what was the difference between just a loop and that you created this with an algorithm that chooses or this is the difference?
Yeah, basically it's not me saying, okay, start looping here and start and end looping here. It actually detects. So first of all, it's able to detect when people are clapping. So it's not just any noise. It's this kind of thing, and then it looks at the time differences between the clapping, and it detects when they're repeating. And it can do that for, as we saw, very complex patterns. And and then it turns that into sound, and we could hear, for a moment, we could hear that pattern being repeated and then morphing into something else. Another thing that's interesting and that I mentioned is, this it's called style transfer. So transferring the style of an input into a trained style. So we trained it with this kind of old Greek music.
Rebetiko, yeah.
Yeah, which the point wasn't that I would play rebetiko on the guitar, which is that's not interesting and not respectful to the source, and that's not the idea. But the point is to be able to change kind of the character and evoke some sort of thing that we're then discussing through the text.
And because it's in the middle, that's the idea. Because it's
Yeah.
trained but not fully trained, you know. So it's not that I do dingalinga and then it appears rebetica. It's more like it creates this sound that is kind of awkward and noisy and things like this, that it's actually like stopped in between, like this idea of liminality, of transformation, of being somewhere in between, and that was interesting.
Yeah, and that's why, and I know you were I may be moving a bit ahead, but you were interested in how we give it a name and we relate to it. That's maybe how we can give it a, let's say, personality. I'm not sure how much that felt, useful, but to us it kind of helped us in the sense that, when you're using an off-the-shelf algorithm that perfectly works, you press a button and it just does what you tell it to, then that kind of can feel a bit impersonal. But when you're the one working with it and it's not quite getting there, but you're trying to guide it, you're trying to see maybe not what it's learned, but what, given this training, what it's able to produce outside of its training or on the margins, on the interesting borders of this latent space. Then it kind of you kind of build a relationship with it.
But you jumped ahead, now I was for me it was very striking when you started basically to talk about the database and the Moody chat partner as about a person. So do you think, or would you give rather a role to it, or would you just take it like, it was a tool that I developed in order to create some theatrical situation?
I mean, a what?
Would you give a role? Because basically you gave kind of like a role, like, it's moody today, it's hallucinating even more than usual, or you just take it as a situation like, we are
prompting it practically.
No. Do you use it as a tool for a comic situation? Or you want it to showcase what it's doing as a third person or a third someone?
No. I mean, the situation is not always comic, because sometimes you have discussions that are not comic, It's like teaching you, So it's like, then do this and blah, 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 blah. So it really depends on how it reacts. Of course, you can regenerate and start a new chat every time, so this is also an option. Of course, we have different characters for it, so my favorite one, but I didn't use it with you today, but I will use it once, is the dance psychopath. So we have different prompts and different characters for this one, and practically we are messing with some parameters, for example, rising the temperature. Like this parameter kind of makes the AI go crazy. So as high as the temperature, the AI starts to behave very unexpectedly. For example, today was 1.8, which is kind of high, and I think that's why some things also happen, like it's not very responsible, repeating certain things. So we are also kind of playing with these parameters to create this type of character. Of course, it's theatrical. So yeah, it's not that I really believe that this AI is a presence or like something like this, or yeah, it's a character and it is prompted. It has a prompt, you know, and it's based on this prompts that if I change it, the discussion is going to be different. So it depends on the character that I'm using for a certain discussion. But I should have put the psychopath. It kind of threatens people with ghosts. So
in that sense, I think it's on the spectrum between a tool and a third person. It's much closer to the tool in real life.
Clearly.
And by giving it a name, we kind of create this illusion, or we try to pull it towards the, you know, having a presence. But yeah, it's all part of the.
Yes, and we are grown ups. We understand it. It's a tool. Yeah, it's definitely a tool. But it becomes personal because of the time that you invest in it, because of the expectations that you, just like with a show, you know, a show can also, you say, like, people say, like, it's a show, it's not your baby, you know, but sometimes, for example, if you spend 3 months doing a show, people probably that are working in performance, they know that you get super attached to that show. It becomes like a baby, you know, it becomes like a, you give it a soul, you know, in a way, of course, not the soul. But this also happens with this type of tools, because you spend a lot of time working with them until you become emotional, you know, and you start reacting to them as they are some type of like real presences, you know, although it is very clear in your head that they are not. But it's like a mirror, you are talking to yourself more. It's more like saying, I didn't manage to do this, but you are talking to this instrument. So in this way, yeah, maybe, but it's not that I'm going to suffer if this AI is not going to stay on my computer anymore or things like this, you know.
So you will abandon this very precious relationship.
I will do a breakup. We need our time, separate. Yeah.
And I would have 2 more questions, and after that we could open up a bit the discussion, so if you have questions. But one is like, in my understanding, in many performances, this role of AI is more like a type of an attraction for the audience. How did you approach it? Like, because you are mentioning like, oh, with the dance psychopath there would be this and that, and then it's like to create a kind of awe in the audiences. Did you have this intention as performers, or what?
First, we really wanted to use them by the book correctly. Like I really wanted a dance researcher assistant. Like I really wanted this, you know, and I really wanted the music to sound more musical. Like we didn't. I mean, yes, we leave space for error and for margins, but my expectations were that this thing behaves accordingly. No, but I mean, we wrote the script, we wrote the text, and we did the lecture performance in accordance with our process, you know. It was not that, oh, and in this moment I will plan so that the AI is not working, you know. It's just like we had to write something and create a discourse that would fit the type of research that we have, you know. And like this is, I think that's interesting. Interesting.
And I think this being a lecture performance makes it different from your average, you know, or your regular performances where you use AI. And yeah, maybe you want to highlight it, maybe you want to have it as an effect, or maybe even if it's the main focus, it's performing. Whereas here we're mostly talking about it, and then obviously we're relating to how it's performing and to what it is, so it has a real presence. But yeah, it's as much as us talking about the process as it's the process itself.
It's also the fact that we don't visualize it. This was something that I wanted from the beginning. I said, like, I don't want to see like an avatar or like something like, hey, I'm the AI, because I feel that now it's so fetishized, this idea of like visualizing it. Like, there is nothing to visualize, you know, it's data, you know. And with this, for example, I have a problem. With this type of visualization, you know, of this data, that we put images on it and it becomes real for us. So this is what I told to Grigore. I said I don't want to do anything with avatars or like with, in which people would say like, oh, the AI is there, you know, like, or, so for us it was important that it travels somehow, you know. Now it's in the sound, now it's in the chatbot, now it's in my text, I'm saying something about it. Then I'm co-creating it in the sense I'm asking you to prompt me like these events and things like this, but not, not to actually visualize it. So in this sense, it was a choice from the beginning, not to create something that is visually striking in the sense that is, it talks to you.
Or anthropomorphic, or it's not a robot.
So when you are mentioning like at the start and like now we are at one milestone of your project, but just going back to the practicalities, like I guess you never have enough time, but like you made actually, you presented us so many versions of your thinking. Like, where do you think that you are in the process, and is it something that you feel kind of fulfilled of what you promised when you handed in the
It
research
depends
application?
who of us you ask.
Both.
Grigore, we'll start.
Yeah, let's start with the glass half full, I guess. Yeah, no, I'm super happy, super excited. Obviously, we're not, and especially as I was saying, from a technical standpoint, blah blah blah. If we had more time, blah blah blah. And I do want to keep working both on the text and on the sound over the summer, because we will have these showcases in the fall. But I wouldn't change, like, fundamentally. I wouldn't change the text and the message of the thing.
Maybe some part.
Maybe some parts, but I would stick with this thing of being out of sync, being on the margins, playing with unpredictability. Already, like the style transfer model, I changed it. I don't know if you could feel it, but I changed it with a more recent version, and already it's less chaotic. And
No, I didn't.
yeah, maybe. Yeah, a lot of it is stuff that I feel and that I.
We have different levels of chaotic, so you need to understand the levels of chaotic.
But yeah, and another source of chaos is the audience, like for us, and that's why I'm super excited to hear what you guys think. This was the first time with a full audience. Like before, we would have to clap, and it's never what you expect. And I think the audience brought so much to that moment, and it really made it almost work. So yeah.
You're welcome.
Yeah, thank you.
Yeah, so maybe we turn to the audience and we ask, what?
But just going back to, you had like basically 2 months.
Yes.
As a residency?
Yes.
And for like a half full glass, you think it's enough, or before that you had time to work?
Like if we are to give feedback to Modina, give
just
more
to prepare
space
maybe
and more rehearsal space and more money to that? No, not this,
just
okay.
for other possible applicants, like if you can just do your soul.
Yeah, if there are people that want to apply. Yeah, 2 months goes really, 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 really fast. And the problem with these 2 months in this Modina setting is the fact that you are expected to present something at the end. And not only that you are expected to present something at the end, but it should be kind of the final thing. Because, I mean, we kind of cheated, because we will have other 2 residencies that we got on our own. But the thing is that what happens as an if artists are here, they know, it's like you create this and you need to have time to separate yourself from this and then go back 1 month later, kind of work a bit of that, give it more time, and it's this process, like when you have 2 months and you also have to work with technology, and like us, we really worked with AI in the sense of data sets and everything like this, so we really took it from the roots, you know. It's like we didn't want to use like interactive technologies, you know, like we really wanted to go into this painful process, you know, with data sets and everything. And I think it needs, if people want to apply, they have to think about something that is really simple and something that kind of focuses on one thing. For example, we focused on too many things, and that's why it was very hard for us. Train the chatbot, but also train the AI that is doing the music, you know. So also this training, you know, it takes a lot of time and a lot of resources, you know, like computers, like a proper computer to do this training, or cloud, or this kind of thing. So I think from our experience, but also from the other artists that we have spoken with, is like go for something that is simple, you know, like one tool, one idea, one type of development, because it's a lot if you start with
it was pretty intense. Like for me, again, that was part of the draw, that we could do or could try our hand at many different things. But yeah, it wasn't easy. And also maybe we can mention also the ethical implications of using, you know, such large models and such computing power. Obviously, this, like, to people using one computer is nothing compared to the huge data centers and everything at OpenAI and Google and all of those people. But still, like, you're using a lot of electricity, you're using a lot of computing power, and finally, you need to kind of justify that. And I think.
Yeah, we felt this pressure, you know.
Yeah.
Like there are a lot of resources involved into this, and you feel the pressure to deliver, you know. It's like, it's not just like you go in a studio, it's like you have some music and you blah blah. It's like you feel all this technology costs money, you know, and like you feel this pressure, you know, like we have to do something with lighter, like we have to do, because it's part of this production process, and which I feel is absolutely normal, you know, like we should have this responsibility, you know, because this money and these budgets and these things could have been used in any other way. So particularly I felt this, so I was telling to Grigore all the time, there is a lot of resources into this, like we really have to deliver. I understand that we're playing and it's okay to play, but in the same time, I know, I was feeling this idea that we're using this computing power, we are using all this, and we are using, and I mean, not delivering at a certain point becomes problematic, you know. And the idea is that when you work with this type of technology, it is very possible that you won't deliver. It is very, very possible that it doesn't really work. It doesn't work how you, like it really, that it's like you can't really change it, you know.
Thank you. Do we have any questions from the audience?
One practical question. Was it your first collaboration together?
Pretty much.
Yeah, I mean, we worked together in a workshop before.
Yeah, like 6-7 years ago.
When I was younger. Yeah, but as a creative process, yes, we are not like a creative pair or something like this. So it was our first, which I think we are the only ones in this MODINA stuff that haven't worked before together. Yeah, because when you apply, they ask you to apply as a partner, as a partnership.
As a pair. Yeah.
As a pair, yeah. So it's not that you can say, I have this idea, please find someone that can do it. So practically you have to apply as a pair. So.
Okay, if we don't have any other...
Yes?
There is some.
So one thing that wasn't really straightforward in the first part, so you had the model that basically had two inputs. Was it the same, the guitar and the microphones? So these were...
No, they were two separate things.
Okay.
So with the microphones, actually the microphones were also going into the style transfer, but by that time they were I mean, I don't know if you could still hear them. By that time, people had really stopped clapping,
Yeah.
and you couldn't really get much. It was some of the rhythm going into the. Some of that was coming from the microphones. Yes.
Yeah. But my question is that we're running separate models, like one a style transfer, one some kind of classification,
Rhythm.
instrument-making model that had
Yes.
to choose between the styles.
Yeah.
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 So
They're separate. They're completely separate.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
And the visuals, pictures.
So the visuals right now, they were like my VJing, but we plan to do this during the summer. So now we're just trying. So during the summer we plan to connect them, like to attribute certain images. There is also the problem of budget, because most of these archive, they cost money. For example, the ones from British Pate, they are very, very expensive. So now we didn't have like a ticket, but when we will have tickets, we will have to buy these archives in order to use them. So this is also a bit like you have to choose like the 3 minutes that you actually want from that archive. So yeah, during the summer we plan, for example, this is undone. So we still have to train the AI to different forbidden music styles, and we have to buy some archive footage, and I mean buy the rights, because you can't just use it like this, and connect it with the system. But Grigore says it's not complicated, although he says like this too many things, so I don't know what to say.
Yeah. It'll crash 10 or 15 times, and then it will work.
Yeah, like crashing is symbolic word. Yeah.
But we're very interested in your feedback. If you guys want to give us some, I don't know, constructive criticism or non-constructive.
If you want to throw eggs, throw potatoes.
Yeah.
Yes.
I just have a question, maybe to Simona.
Yes.
I understand you participated in this project as a researcher, but you're a choreographer as well.
Yeah.
So my question is that did you have, when you started to work together, did you have questions to the project as a choreographer? And if so, do you have any plans or purpose with this research as a choreographer and dancer?
Yes, I have a series of works that are touring now that is based on this specific. So I have one that is called Ramanenjana. So I'm developing a docu-fiction series based on mass dances. So I'm already touring two of them, and mainly this research came from a residency that I had in Germany 2 years ago, in which I was able to gather with the Tanzkultur Secretariat, that I was able to gather all these materials from archives and things like this. So I do have dance works that are based on this type of events. But my main interest as a choreographer is not to reenact them. So I'm not talking about reenactments or like dancing like crazy choreomaniacs, or like something like that. It's not what I do. My interest is to study how people was looking at dance throughout history, and that's very interesting for me, because you would discover that 600 years ago people were looking at people that were improvising, or like raving in the streets, just like they are looking today, So not many things have changed, and for me this is interesting. So this is my choreographic research stands in this, how people used to. But I use this format. I mean, now it's more lecture performance. Usually I make it more spectacular, meaning it's like a docu-fiction, yeah. But I hope I will stop soon, because it feels like I'm already. Yeah, it feels like it's already too much. It's taking a lot of what I do, this research. But is somebody that it's trying to apply to this, or like is
there are some undecided people.
Okay. Yeah, because we can we are very open. If you want, we can really like share info with you if you want, because we have been through all this process and also met the other people and went through all the application and how it transforms after. So like it's a good opportunity if you want. Not now, but we can stay a bit up and have a drink if you want, and we can kind of give you some tips or things like this if you want to read the application and what it means after budget and things like this.
That's what I would also suggest, because I wouldn't ask in front of everyone.
Yes.
Like, would
So
it be
how
there?
much did you?
Yeah, so I would like to thank for everyone and especially to you. So I think one more big applause to you. Thank you.
Thank you.